Who fans, welcome to the Big Blue Box podcast. My name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And we're at episode 139.
139.
One day, I shall come back.
Oh dear, we are in trouble, aren't we?
I've reversed the polarity of the neutron flow, so the TARDIS should be free of the force field now.
I have the advantage of being slightly ahead of you. Sometimes behind you, but normally ahead of you.
The trouble with time travel is, one never seems to find the time.
Change, my dear. And it seems not a moment too soon.
Unlimited rice pudding, etc., etc.
A meteor storm, and the sky above us was dancing with lights. Purple, green, brilliant yellow, yes!
I'm the doctor, by the way. What's your name?
Rose.
Nice to meet you, Rose. Run for your life.
It's more like a big ball of wibbly-wobbly, timey-wimey stuff.
Just remember who's standing in your way.
Look at the eyebrows. These are attack eyebrows. You can take bottle tops off with these.
Howdy do, Who fans. Welcome to episode 139. Hope you've had a cracking week. And that you've met, well, assuming you've done something Doctor Who related. Seeing as there's a new series on TV, it would be unwise for me to say that you haven't done anything Who related.
Yeah. Isn't it great having Doctor Who to look forward to every week again?
Isn't it great? It's brilliant.
It is. I was saying the other day, I was like, I just love Saturdays again. Love having a new series back on our screens. It's great.
It's fantastic.
It is.
It's definitely it's like a highlight of the week, isn't it? Especially for Who fans. It's like something to look forward to, because I'm like it even once I've seen the episode that's gone out fresh, which is partly down to the next time trailers, I think. But even once the episode's gone out fresh, you know, within minutes, I'm like, I can't wait till next week.
Yeah.
You know, next Saturday,
exactly
come on.
Same.
Yeah. So there's definitely that highlight of the week thing, which I think is the same, yeah.
It's like you said, it's just nice having something to look forward to at the end of the week, isn't it? It's like when you're at work, you're thinking, it's Wednesday, Doctor Who's on in a couple of days. And it's just nice to get that buzz. Yeah.
It is nice indeed. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
And also, it is good to have that buzz, because I have now genuinely got that excitement about every episode in the minute, because I think sort of with series 8 and 9, I wasn't quite feeling the same amount of excitement for each episode. I wasn't too bothered about watching it live, if you know what I mean. Whereas with this series, touch wood so far, I'm just like, every episode, I'm just like, yes. Although I'm actually once again going to miss it going out live this week's.
For God's sake.
Nice. Yeah, I know.
Can't you plan your life around the important things?
It's disgraceful.
Come on.
It's just, I'm going to have to resign as a Doctor Who fan, I think, soon. But no, it's really, it's terrible. But it was great because I got to see this week's go out live. I got to watch Smile as it went out. And there was a big thing, wasn't there, that the football was on, and everyone was like, "Oh no, it's going to be delayed going out, and it's going to go out late." But thankfully, whoever was playing, because I'm not really a footy fan, but whoever was playing scored or didn't score, and it all went well. And once they'd finished talking about man of the match, it all finished on time, and Doctor Who went out on time, and it was all good. And I was there this time. I was there right in front of the telly watching it. So. Yeah, it is so much better watching it going out live. It's just, I think you get the feeling you're watching it with everybody, don't you? You think, all the Doctor Who fans at home watching it now. Yeah.
No, it's cool because if you jump onto Twitter or Facebook immediately afterwards, it's just a whole raft of opinions and mini reviews and thoughts and stuff. But that's really interesting. I don't really contribute much in that time period. So the first couple of hours after a new episode's gone out, I don't really jump on Twitter and start typing away, mainly because, our review will be coming up on the show. So I don't want to give much away.
Yeah.
How I thought about it. But also it's just, it's just constant, like, because my Twitter app is set to streaming. So it just, moves everything down every time there's a new tweet, and it's just a never ending stream of stuff for about an hour afterwards. So I just really like looking at everyone's thoughts and what the internet thought about it. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, no, I'm exactly the same. I just jump straight on. I just love getting people's reaction. Like you, I try not to give too much away because we love to when we record, not know each other's view, don't we? Which is great, actually, because I think, for this episode, I don't know what you think of it, and I didn't know what you thought of the pilot before we recorded it. It does make it more exciting. So, yeah, I'm like you. I try and be quite guarded when people say to me, "Oh, what did you think?" And I'm like, "Well, yeah." But it is great. I mean, yesterday I was scheduling posts because I'm going to be away this weekend, and I was scheduling posts to go out for Saturday, and I was sort of looking to see what time Doctor Who finished so that the post goes out when it finishes, and I was just thinking, oh, the posts will go out and people will think I'm there behind the screen reading the answers, but I won't be because I'll be in Paris and I won't have any internet. So it's just like, I was just thinking these posts will go out, but I won't actually get to see. Well, I might do. Hopefully I'll find some Wi-Fi out there and I'll be able to get the reaction. But yeah, I love it. I love just going on straight after an episode and seeing what people think. Talking of Paris, by the way, I'm actually going on for a holiday, but much to my partner's delight, in brackets, I've insisted that we are going to find Scaroff's lair.
Yes.
There's that very famous picture of Tom Baker in front of the doors that are used for Scaroff's mansion or whatever.
Oh, and he's got his hand
City of
out,
Death.
isn't he? And
yeah, it's a very famous picture from the City of Death. I've always wanted to just go and stand in front of those doors and recreate that pose. So I just saw my partner's eyes sink when I said it, because he's like, yes, we're going to Paris, I've got a business thing, but you can come out as well, and we'll have a couple of days while I'll do the work on the Friday, a couple of days holiday, and then come back on the Tuesday. And I was like, yep, all sounds good. I said, oh, as we're going out to Paris, I've always wanted to find those doors. And it was like, oh, but I am going to do it. So hopefully, touch wood, I'll finally get that picture. Yeah, I'm going to take my scarf out with me, my Tom Baker scarf, and try and recreate that pose in front of those famous doors. So quite looking forward to that, more than the holiday. And it's
I get the feeling that it's not just our better halves, but there must be a common thing with Who fans that are in relationships with people that aren't so much Who fans, where they constantly suspect that there's a hidden agenda.
Yes.
So whenever you go anywhere, they're probably thinking, I'm going to wait for it, but I know it's coming. While we're there, here we go.
Yeah.
What is there going to be? Is there a location you want to look at? Is there a forbidden planet? Is there something you want to go look at? Who related?
Yeah.
And then you get all humpy. Well, yes, there is actually.
I say, actually, yeah, there is. Or you pretend you don't. You say, oh, actually, yes. Now you mention it, and it's like, oh, like you didn't know.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what he's dreading, though, is that while I'm trying to get that picture, because obviously you don't want anyone in the background. I don't know how busy the sort of street is. I've looked at it on Google Earth, so it's a little side street. I know what's going to be the problem. It's going to be like, well, wait for these people to move out of the way. I don't want anyone else in the shot. I don't want anybody in the background photobombing or looking at the camera, because I hate that. I want a nice clean shot. That's what will drive him mad. Is me saying, no, do another one. Wait till they've gone. Do another one. So it's going to be fun. But yeah, hopefully you should see that picture next week. If you don't, I didn't get it, and the whole holiday will be ruined. I'll be coming back in a bad mood. Yeah. But no, I'm not looking forward to that. But it does mean I will miss Thin Ice going out, so I won't get to watch that till probably Tuesday night, actually. So yeah. Oh dear. But quite excited though. Yeah, trailer looks good.
Yes.
Yeah. So, yeah, I haven't really been up to much else, mate. Not much at all. I got the new Doctor Who special magazine, Doctor Who magazine special, the merchandise one. Have you managed to get that yet?
Oh, no, I'm going out to pick it up later today.
It's so good. It's so good. I mean, it's just like heaven for me and you.
Yeah.
It is just full of, it's basically 100-page special from Doctor Who magazine, and it lists, not all the merch, but pretty much all the merch from the 60s right up to present day. And, say all the merch, I'm sure there's stuff they couldn't put in, but it's brilliant just going back, like looking at all the old 60s Daleks costumes that you could get. And it talks about how they sort of tried to make them better, because when they first come out, they're an absolute nightmare to actually wear because of the way they were designed. And it's a brilliant issue. I sat reading it the other day for ages, just thinking, right, need to look for that on eBay, need to look for that on eBay. That looks good, never seen that before. It's be warned, you'll probably do the same. There's some really cool stuff in there.
Yeah, I'm going to go and pick it up later, actually. It does look good. Yeah,
it is good. Yeah, that's the only other little treat I've had this week. I haven't really had time to do anything else, unfortunately. Yes. What about you? You been up to much?
No, not really. a couple of pieces of just quick updates for. We just want to say a mention to somebody in the Who community who's had a bit of bad news recently. So just a quick mention to Matt from the Who Addicts reviews. Just wanted to let Matt know that we're thinking of him. He's had some really bad news in the last few days. So Matt and Liv and the Who Addicts guys, we're thinking of you. So we're all here for you. And secondly, last Friday, we had a bit of a long show, didn't we? We had it was pushing on for nearly 3 hours, that show.
Yeah, and that was after the edit as well, wasn't it? I mean, it was even longer before.
It was, yeah. We had to, I took about 20 minutes out of that. So it would have been over 3 hours. And it had a bit of a mixed reaction, actually, on Twitter. People saying, about to listen to the latest Big Blue Box. But yeah, it's like 2 hours, 40 minutes. A lot of you said that, the time flew by and it was really good. So thank you for sticking with us for that one. But because it was the brand new series, new companion, there was so much to talk about. So apologies if it was slightly long, but we did have quite a bit to go through. However, we had an absolutely, because we have stats that, we can look at for our listens and downloads of the podcast. We had our best ever day on Friday last week. And when I say best ever, our stats just went not through the roof, they went through the atmosphere in terms of the number of people who listened and downloaded. So new listeners, old listeners, everybody, just thank you so much for that, for listening on Friday. I know it was a long show, but thank you so much. That just went crazy, and it continued for some of the weekend as well. So massive thank you to everybody for listening last week. Amazing.
Yes.
Other than that, not really done too much, really. Obviously watched Smile a couple of times and got some notes down for that, but yeah, quiet otherwise.
I've watched Smile twice.
Yeah, me
just
too.
I always like to try and get a second viewing in before we record. Do you know what? I've actually gone back and watched the pilot as well. I've watched the pilot 3 times now. I love that episode. I think I was saying to someone on Facebook the other day, I can't remember the last Moffat episode that I sort of actually wanted to go back more than once after transmission. And even if I quite enjoyed it, it's very rare that I actually think, I really, really want to watch that again. I haven't had that feeling for quite some time. And the more I watch the pilot, I love that episode. So I've watched that a couple of times since we recorded.
Yeah, well, speaking of the pilot, that's going to be the first thing up on our news for today. So shall we land the TARDIS and do that?
Yes.
Yeah, so the pilot, we've got all of the confirmed viewing figures for the week ending the 16th, so up to the end of last week. Because when we reported the viewing figures initially, all we had was the overnight figures, and now we've got the viewing figures for the week, and it also takes into account the people that had downloaded the episode or watched it within 7 days of when it first aired. So I think when we first reported it, what did we report? It was like 4 million.
It was about 4.5 million, something like that.
Yeah, and with the with now the confirmed figures and the viewing figures for that week, it actually had a damn good bit of success, I would say. For the viewing figures. So out of the top 30 shows for week ending 16th of April, it was number 10. And it beat all of the EastEnders episodes that went out.
Good.
It beat all of Emmerdale.
Excellent.
It beat, thankfully, all round to Mrs. Brown's.
Hey.
Some other bits and pieces. The only shows that finished ahead of it, really, which is not surprising, was Corrie. So Coronation Street, which I think is the most watched soap sort of in the evening TV time, so that's going to take a bit of beating that. And then it also came behind Broadchurch, Line of Duty, Britain's Got Talent, which is no surprise there, and Peter Kay's Car Share, which I was quite surprised because I didn't think that had a massive amount of views, but apparently it did. But anyway, it's finished at number 10, and the final confirmed number was 6.68 million views, which is amazing, really.
It's very good. Yeah, it says here it's that's the highest chart position for a non-Christmas episode of Doctor Who since Listen in 2014.
Wow!
So it is good news because it does show that it's gained a bit of that popularity back. So it's really, really good news, actually.
Really cool. And the other shows that beat it, I mean, in terms of Who going out on BBC One, it was the third most watched show on BBC One. The other shows like Broadchurch, Britain's Got Talent, and obviously Coronation Street, they all go out on ITV. So in terms of the BBC as well, it's the top, it was the top in the top 3. So that is awesome, I think.
Yeah, it is. It is really good news. I mean, and actually just to add on to that good news, because in our sort of second news item, if you like, is about the Smile overnight viewing figures, which again have come in over 4 million this week. So it's 4.25 million, which again will go up. That's an overnight figure, so we can expect that to be around the sort of 5-6 million by the time they've actually given it the final figure. And that is again good news because it shows that it's actually sticking around that 4 million mark. I think in previous series, you do always get a drop with episode 2. People tend to tune in for the first episode, and then there's always a drop in viewing figures. But that's, again, it's a good, strong figure, and it will go up. So both of this just shows that they seem to be doing what they wanted to do in terms of, getting a bit of a core audience back, because viewing figures were slipping big time. We talked about it a few weeks ago, didn't we? They were dropping to around 3 million something, the lowest for quite some time. So it is really great to see Doctor Who going up, again. Yeah. So even though they might still sound a little bit low, if you put it in terms of, like you just said, in terms of comparing it to the other viewing figures the program's got, it is very good because it's the third watch, program of the day, or it's in the top 10. So very good news. Yeah.
It's great stuff, isn't it? And I would say that the same thing will happen with Smile once we get the confirmed figures for the week. For that week, I reckon that will be pushing 6 million as well, I would say. Because it's very similar to the pilot. Yeah, so that's great stuff. Really cool news for Who, getting back up there in the ratings where it should be.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and also what's that AI index thing that they always gone about? The appreciation index has been high for both episodes as well, hasn't it? So that's good as well because the BBC monitor all these sort of things when they're looking at how well their programs are doing, and they've been very positive for the first 2 episodes of Who. So again, it's all looking good at the minute. So touch wood. Let's hope it continues. Yeah.
And that's going to do for news. The only other bits really that we've seen knocking about is just a bunch of publicity stuff for Thin Ice, really.
Yeah.
Which we can't really do on a podcast because it's just a bunch of promo images and all that jazz. So fairly light on news, but that's kind of expected though. When a new series kicks off, it's all about the coming up. The episode coming up. So it's going to do for news. We've got some cool merch though. So shall we bring our metal bald friend in?
Yeah.
Merch corner. Merch corner. Merch corner.
I don't know whether to be impressed or disgusted.
It's a bit rubbish, but it's pretty. It's very pretty.
He's got a face on him as usual.
I've never thought of the Daleks as being bold before.
I bald as in the balls that are on their case.
Oh, yeah, I thought you said bold, as in like no hair, like me.
I'm talking about you. Go on, get out of it. The balls. Yes, you've got balls. Bugger off. So
the ones that Miss is always playing with.
Yeah. I must say, our Dalek it's getting a bit grumpy these days. Yes, I think it's taking him some umbrage that he's bringing us this cool stuff but doesn't get to keep any.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, then you shouldn't have murdered loads of people, should you? There we go. Right, first up, we have an LED torch, full size, 12th Doctor version.
Yeah.
It's a torch. LED. There you go.
Yes, it's funny looking, isn't it?
There's nothing else to say about it, really. It's just a
It's where's the top?
Yeah.
It's as if they've knocked the top off the Sonic. I mean, I'm assuming obviously because it's a torch, but I don't know. It doesn't quite look right. somehow.
It's if you can imagine the 12th Doctor's Sonic with, just as Adam said, the top part of it literally cut off and replaced with just the end of an LED torch. Apparently it's quite bright. I'm not going to measure it in whatever you measure these things in. What is it, nits or something? Or
is it actually? Is it a full? Is it like the? Is it the same? Is it a full size Sonic?
Yeah.
Is that what it's saying?
Yeah,
right. Yeah.
So there we go. Apparently it's a must for any Doctor Who fan.
How much is it?
Yeah, it's $13.99 off of Amazon. And there's only 2 left in stock at the time of this recording, with more due on the way. So.
I'm intrigued to see the actual thing, because I've just done a review of 2 Sonic torches. One was a keyring and one was a sort of a torch, but it was small. I guess it's like the in between size of this. They looked great in their packaging, but when I got them out, they weren't as good as I thought. But anyway, yeah, I'm just wondering if this is by the same company, but it doesn't say, does it? The company that did the torches I reviewed was Xeon. In partnership with the BBC, and it looks like the same packaging, and I don't know if it is by them. I'd imagine it to be very plasticky if it's the same company, but I'd be intrigued to see the actual product, see what it's like. It might be a lot better than the pictures look.
Yeah, it looks pretty basic. I think I might pass on this one. It looks okay, I suppose.
Yeah,
if torches are your thing, but yeah, you can order it immediately.
Yeah, but there's only 2 left, so get in there quick.
Yep.
I'll tell you what, though, you'll be more impressed with this second bit of merch our Dalek friend has brought in, which is the Mr. Men books, the Doctor Who Mr. Men books, which have just launched, actually. And even better news, so the first it's the first 4, isn't it, that have come out. So we've got Doctor First, Doctor Fourth, Doctor 11th and Doctor 12th have just come out.
Yes.
And even better news is they've actually announced some more Doctors in the range. And I tell you what, there is one here that I cannot wait to get. So the ones that have been announced, I think this is coming out in August, is the Doctor 2nd, Doctor 9th. Is there another Doctor? No, they've listed it twice. Doctor 9th, Doctor 8th, and the one that I really love, Doctor 7th.
Yeah, he looks
brilliant.
Awesome. Yeah.
He's got his little question mark umbrella and a big smiley face. So it's really cool. They're obviously they're going to do all the Doctors, aren't they? Have they missed any out, or have we still got some to come? Who's not been done yet?
So we haven't got the 10th Doctor yet.
That's surprising, isn't it?
Very, very surprising. So this really put my wife in a bit of a hump.
Yeah, I bet.
Yeah, because she's a 10 is her Doctor, right? And when I was going through some of this stuff earlier on in prep for the show, she was like, "Oh my, they're so cute, Mr. Men and Doctor Who mashup is awesome." And then her smile very quickly went upside down, and she's like, "Hold on, I can't see a 10th Doctor version anywhere." And I was like, "Oh crap!" I was like, "Just calm down, just let me have a quick look, and we'll see if we can fix this." But alas, she's not happy. No. But yes, and they've also announced a load of extra merch as well. So I'll stick a link in the show notes to this. If you head over to the official site, which is it's just shop.mrmen.com, and then just do a search you'll see a link in the nav there for Doctor Who. They've got some mugs, t-shirts, coasters, notebooks, the usual stuff, but they've also got these really nice art prints as well. And they look really cool. And I don't know about you, mate, but for me, the one that's sort of capturing my heart at the moment is the first Doctor. I don't know what it is about him. It's just the grumpy expression and the hair and stuff. It's really cool. Do you know what? I'm not really. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love all of them. I think they're all really cute. But the one that I'm least sort of gravitating towards is the 4th Doctor one.
Really? Okay.
The reason why I say that is because he just looks too obvious for me. I just wish that they'd done something slightly different for him, because, he's got the scarf and the hat, but I just wish he'd had like a slightly different pose or something. I'm not sure. If you look at some of the ones that have been announced that are coming out in August, like the 8th Doctor one, they've done something very different for him. He's got quite the frown on him, and he's got his little pocket watch.
And the second one looks good with his little recorder, doesn't he, in his hand?
Yeah.
And And also the Capaldi one, Doctor 12.
He looks cool.
He looks cool, but I was thinking, I'm not sure the 12th Doctor one should be so happy. He's got a great big grin on his face, like like the first Doctor one's got the grumpy. I was thinking 12 should probably be grumpy as well, but they do look great. And I'm looking at the like you said, the merch that they've got coming out for these, and it's brilliant actually. Yeah. I mean, I know these are sort of aimed at a younger audience, but I don't care. I mean, I'm looking at the mugs because I love a mug.
Of course.
This one with the the Mr. Men Cyberman
holding up the mug. Yeah,
he's brilliant. T first, destruction of the Earth second, it says. But this merchandise is just stunning. I love it. I can't wait to get some of this. I don't care. I'm just going to be throwing my wages at it. I think it's brilliant.
It's really cool. Yeah, and the mugs are actually really nice because the mugs that feature the Doctors have got this colour on the handle and inside adds the colour of the character.
Oh, right, yeah.
Which is really cool, but the other mugs don't have that, so that's a nice little touch there.
Yeah, I see what you mean. I noticed that. Yeah, it does look good, doesn't it?
Yeah, and they've got this little worm character featured throughout a lot of them as well. So one of the mugs where it says Game Set Exterminate.
Oh, that's brilliant. I want that.
Yeah, it's got the Dalek shooting a tennis ball out and he's got a racket in his hand, but there's the little worm poking out. And one of the mugs which has got like the Zygons and the Siler, all over it. It's got the little worm character as well. So yeah, really, really cool stuff from Hargreaves.
Yeah,
really
it's
cool.
It's good, isn't it? So the only Doctors missing at the minute, it's number 3 and 10, isn't it? I think. Is there any other one missing?
No, yeah, 3 and 10.
3 and 10. I can't believe they haven't done 10 because he's normally the one they do first because they consider him to be the most popular. So he's bound to come along, isn't he? But until he does, this all looks brilliant. Yeah,
looks great. So we'll stick a note in the show notes if you want to grab some official merch. But the books themselves, as you would expect with Mr. Men, really cheap. They're like £1 something each off of Amazon because they're only small little things for kids. But if you wanted to order the books, they're very cheap off Amazon. But the merch is what I'm after.
Yeah. Merch looks very good. They've just done a Mr. Men Day down in the Doctor Who Experience. Did you see?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh, how much would we have loved to have been there?
Oh no.
They had big cardboard cutouts of all the Mr. Men Doctors, and it just looked brilliant. They had all this merch for sale as well. I think it was like an exclusive launch for it all as well. Wow. I know a few people that were lucky enough to go. Yeah, looked amazing.
It did.
And
that's going to do for merch. Right, Adam. Have you got your emoji badge on? Nope, can't see it. So your face is going to have to do. With a big smile or a frown, or a face that looks like you're about to kill me. What are we going to do this week?
Well, it is, of course, the second episode of Series 10, Smile.
Between here and my office is everything that ever happened or ever will. Make your choice. Past or future?
Future.
This is one of the Earth's first colonists.
What are they? Alien birds?
Tiny robots.
Welcome to your new world. Be happy.
That is a robot. It speaks emoji.
Where are all the people?
Doctor, what do we do? Smile, smile, smile. No, look. I'm smiling.
They're expecting the new Garden of Eden. What they are not expecting is to be the fertilizer.
Well, you're going back in.
And I'm having this really childish impulse to blow it up.
Doctor!
Ooh. Episode 2 of Series 10.
Happiness will prevail.
Indeed. It was written by Frank Cottrell-Boyce. It was directed by Lawrence Goff, the same guy who directed the pilot. And it was obviously overseen by the Mothball. And back to a 45-minute length.
Yeah.
That we're familiar with newer Doctor Who. So, Smile. What you got on this one, mate?
I thought it was good. I thought it was enjoyable. A little bit slow in places.
Right.
Let down by the ending.
Oh.
But overall, I quite liked it. Yeah.
Overall,
I quite liked it. I mean, it looked visually amazing, but I enjoyed watching the pilot, rewatching the pilot a lot. Whereas on the second watch, this one felt a little bit slow. But overall, I quite liked it. I thought it was some very good ideas going on in there. It's just a shame about the whole reset button at the end, and the Doctor even says the word. Suddenly, he even says it's just a big reset button, which I couldn't help but wonder if the Moffat put that in there as a bit of a 2 fingers to everyone that moans about him doing that all the time. But no, I thought overall, it was a decent episode. I wouldn't say it was great, but I thought it was decent. Yeah. What about you? Certainly, I think, especially as it was written by Frank Cottrell Boyce, who wrote what I consider to be one of the worst episodes, Doctor Who in the Forest of Night. I think this was quite, I had very low expectations, let's put it this way. And I thought it was very watchable. Yeah. What about you?
Yeah, I think I've got similar views on it. I think I really liked it. I thought it was a great episode. I think it continues the momentum, if you like, that we got from the pilot for Series 10. So I'm still hyped for Series 10. But like you, it just didn't seem to grab me in the same way. I'm not sure if that's because, we were just very excitable for a new series of Doctor Who, and the pilot was just a great opener to a new series, and it all felt fresh and new. So this one didn't quite grab me in the same way. However, I still think it was a really good episode, and for me, a pretty big sigh of relief that we didn't have another huge clanger like, Forest. But so it was pretty good. The ending, was a bit soft and a bit wishy-washy, but I was also quite surprised at how small a part Ralph Little had in this.
Yeah, me too.
Because he was featured in one of the early filming videos, wasn't he? He did that whole sort of spoof, I'm not in Doctor Who video where he's walking around the TARDIS and stuff. So you thought, wow, he must have a fairly decent part, but he was in it for all of 5 minutes? Not even that.
I know, and it's so disappointing because, like you said, I remember we both loved that video he did where he's walking around the TARDIS set saying, there's these rumours that I'm in Doctor Who. I don't know what it's all about. I've never heard of the show. And he's walking around the TARDIS set, and it was a great video. And I was thinking, now that's interesting. Why would he be pretending not to be in it when clearly he's in it? There must be something to his character to do with that. I remember saying, is it the silence? He's lost his memory. There's all sorts of things I was thinking. And then it just turns out that, he's just in it for like a couple of minutes at the end, and I was thinking, wow, that's surprising. And also he was, we'll get onto cast later and jumping ahead, but also I thought his acting was pretty poor, actually. I was almost glad he wasn't in it anymore. In fact, I found him really annoying. I almost wanted him to get turned to bones, but it was shocking how little he was in it. I still can't quite get over it.
It's weird. But overall, still a very good episode for me, I thought. Pretty good story, quite dark as a story, I would say, and a nice small cast again that we had, similar to last week with the pilot. Just a couple of key people outside of the Doctor and Bill. Even Nardole only has a minute of screen time.
Yeah, just at the beginning. Do you know, I never thought I'd say this, but I really wanted more. I really wanted more Nardole. I was when they landed back on Earth at the end, I was thinking, I'll probably get a nice little scene with Nardole now. And of course we didn't, because it goes straight into Thin Ice. I really wanted a bit more Nardole, actually. I'm liking him.
Yeah, do you know what?
I love that scene at the start where he's like, I'm not making her a cup of tea, and he's all being all grumpy, and he's had his nose put out joining because the Doctor's found a new friend, and he's sort of I just thought I'm really liking this Doctor Nardole relationship, the way they sort of, I don't know, I want more Nardole.
Yeah, do you know what, mate, you read my mind completely, because there were a few places in this story where it did slow down a little bit, and I was thinking now would be the perfect time to inject a little bit of Nardole humour in here, just to pick it back up. Really, it was a really surprising story for me, this one. Just in terms of casting, because I honestly thought that Ralph Little was going to have a much bigger part to play, and I just didn't see it coming that they would just shelve Nardole for an entire story where he played such a big part last week, and obviously is going to play a big part moving forward. So don't get me wrong, it's okay. It's one of those kind of isolated stories that just didn't have anything to do at all, did it, with any bigger story arcs, apart from, at the beginning and at the end. So it is one of those cool little isolated stories, but just didn't quite grab. So in terms of story, mate, and plot and stuff, it was, like I said, it was fairly dark. It sort of hovers around that moral issue that we have again, that we see many times in modern Doctor Who, where they've landed on they've landed at this off-world colony, haven't they? Expecting to see lots of humans running around, but it's run by these emoji robots and these little nanobots called the Vardy.
Instead of Vardy,
yeah, which we find out are actually the buildings themselves. So these little nanobots have actually constructed this colony out of themselves, and the humans are in sort of suspended animation, ready to be awoken and get on with it. Only to find that the Vardy have taken sort of unhappiness as some kind of disease to be cured. So if someone's unhappy, the way that they sort that out is to kill you, basically, because they see it as a sign of
like a malfunction, I suppose.
Pretty
in
much,
a way.
yeah.
Like, yeah.
Yeah. So the Doctor's answer to this really is to just blow the whole lot up. And but what he hasn't noticed is there's actually humans still knocking about. So we have the small boy that's somehow been awoken. I'm not sure how.
We don't find out, do we? He just suddenly appears.
Yeah, and then and Bill obviously sees him and stuff, and so we have that sort of moral question as well. Should the Doctor be blowing everything up, or should he be finding another way? But and then at the end, it's sort of, I guess it's happily ever after. They sort of, like you say, the slightly weak ending with the big reset button. All the robots and the Vardy are all back to back to square one, and now it's down to the humans to sort them out and get on with it.
But it did make me sort of think, isn't it just going to happen again though? I don't know. It's like, do you know what I mean? Like, so they've reset, but isn't it just have they actually solved the issue? I wasn't quite too clear about that, but because I know the Doctor just says, well, it's down to them now. So I don't know. It did seem a little bit unsatisfying to me, the ending, and also because it is quite I wouldn't say slow, but it's an episode that takes its time. I did feel they could have perhaps done a bit more with that time, because we get introduced to the humans very late in the episode, and then it all kind of kicks off. And I was thinking, well, actually, we could have brought them in 10 minutes more and had a bit more. Like you said, Ralph Little's hardly in it, but we could have had a bit more with them, and I think it might have actually helped to just the pace of the episode, because it was a little bit wordy in places. I mean, I did enjoy it, but I don't know. I felt like it needed perhaps one more rewrite just to fix a few bits that could have been easily fixed to make the episode better, if you see what I mean. Because there was some really good stuff going on in there. But it kind of just sort of plodded along a bit. There was some nice humor in it. I mean, I absolutely love the beginning. I don't know about you. I thought the very first scene, the pre-credit scene, was brilliant between Bill and the Doctor, and she's saying like about the TARDIS not having seat belts and why are the seats so far away from the console, and I was like, this is brilliant. And this is stuff that I've never really sort of thought about before, but is actually so obvious. And the way Capaldi's just like so proud of his spaceship, and he's like, well, I'm standing by, I stand here like this and that. It's a lovely scene. And then Nala comes in and adds a bit more humor. I wish I could hear what the Doctor says under his breath, because neither time that I've watched this, when Nardole comes in, and he sort of says something. He says something like it's the wife or so. He says something under his breath, and maybe I should put the subtitles on, because it almost as if he calls him something, but I haven't caught what it is. I'm probably reading too much into this. It's just I'm really intrigued by, because Nardole then starts going on about, you've made an oath. What do you think you're doing? You're not going anywhere and all that. And I was thinking, so we got a little bit more teasing about the vault and the fact that the Doctor's made an oath to stay on Earth and not travel. So, all that's very intriguing, but it makes me very intrigued about Nardole as well. So I was sort of thinking, what did the Doctor just say then? I'm trying to read into everything, basically.
Yeah, I know
it was probably
mean.
nothing. It probably just makes a flippant comment. But
I can't actually remember that line or him muttering under his breath,
Well, I missed it the first time. It was on the second watch. He just sort of looks when Nardole comes in and says, what are you doing or something, he kind of looks to the ground and says, he might say it's the wife or something like that. He says something under his breath. And I was like, what was that? And I just couldn't catch it because he mumbles it. But it's probably absolutely nothing at all. But it just sort of, just something I've picked up on. But I loved all that, didn't you? I was thinking, what is this oath about? What is this vault about? I love the fact it's not too much of a big deal, though. It's just kind of there, lingering in the background. It's just, it's nice.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. In terms of like series-wide story arc, I think the Moff is very, well, in a lot of people's opinions, very sort of happily holding back on that stuff at the moment. Because if we think back to some of the Matt Smith stories with Clara and stuff, it was just, smashed in your face the whole time that, what's going on. But I really like the fact that it's been mentioned now in the first episode, and now we've got another mention of it here, but they've left it, like you say, it's just lingering there. It's like, what is the vault? More importantly, what is inside the vault? And it's just there, and it's ready to be, opened both metaphorically and physically. So I like that they've just left it there for you to ponder over. And I'm pretty sure that the Moff has done that intentionally, where he's probably had so many people say to him, these bloody big timey-wimey story arcs are just driving us insane, sort of thing. So now he's like, okay, I'm going to go to the other, the opposite end of the spectrum now and give you an arc, but you're going to have to, really stick with it, and just, we're going to get everyone talking and guessing. So I would say, fair play to the Moff for doing it this way for his final series. He's kind of giving us, he's giving the fans, more what we want, but he's not really giving us too much fan service. He's giving us something very new. I mean, we have no idea what's inside there, but that theory could all go to crap if it opens up and Clara's sitting in there.
Oh no,
that could all be a bit of a disaster. But I really like how he's just teasing at the moment.
Yeah, I love being able to speculate over this stuff, and it makes me more intrigued about him, Nardal, as well, because Nardal seems to know the Doctor really well.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking, so how much time, how long have these two been sort of travelling together and stuff? Because Nardal seems to have really got the Doctor's character, and I love the way that they're sort of bounce off each other. They're a bit tetchy. The Doctor's a bit tetchy with Nardal, isn't he? And Nardal's always bringing him into check as well. I'm just really loving all that. And with this episode, I suppose the sort of main purpose is to sort of cement the relationship between the Doctor and Bill, which I think it does quite well. I mean, Bill does ask a lot of questions in this episode, and I would say it was just slightly bordering on too many. I mean, there was at one point in the middle I was thinking she's just firing question after question. Because I absolutely love Bill. Already after 2 episodes, I'm loving her as a companion, and I think she brings out the best in Capaldi as well. I don't know about you, but I think they are really working together so far. But yeah, I think as long as that's just in this episode, I don't want every episode her just being like, what's the Dalek, what's the TARDIS, what's the, it needs to be just toned down now. I think now that they've been out and on an adventure together, and because her character's brilliant, and she's brilliant as well. Pearl Mackie as Bill is absolutely already becoming a fan favorite. I mean, like we were talking about Twitter earlier, I'm seeing so much positivity towards her as a companion, which is great. And as I said, I think she's working incredibly well with Capaldi.
Yes, no, I agree.
Especially in the humour as well at the start. Yeah, so just needed to just tone down the questions just a fraction, I thought.
A wee bit.
In this, it's just slightly starting to get a bit too much, but yeah, she's fantastic.
Yeah, and so some story stuff then. The opening scene, not in the TARDIS and so on, but when we land on when we see get our first look at the colony and stuff, how two sort of characters sets the story up quite nicely, I would say.
Yeah,
quite like that, where one of the characters, I don't know which, they never mention them, or did they mention their names? I can't be sure, but one of them's very desperate for the other one to just keep smiling and stuff, and you kind of get a gist of what's happening here, and she gets obliterated instantly by the nanobots and stuff.
Yeah,
and then the other character presumably meets the same fate, because the Doctor finds a necklace later on in the garden and so on. So I thought that was quite a good another actress that I'm sure has been in Who before, but again they didn't make very good use of her at all. So Mina Anwar, I'm sure she's been in Who before.
She's definitely she's in the Sarah Jane Adventure. She plays Rani's mum.
Yes,
but I was trying to work out if she'd been in Who as well. I can't remember now. Like you said, she's an instantly recognisable face. I was like, I know her. But yeah, she was only in that one scene at the beginning, wasn't she?
Yeah,
very small part.
Again, though, quite underused, I would say.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that scene with those two characters, that was quite good. It was quite a, I imagined that the large majority of viewers' eyebrows were sort of at the back of their head at that bit, because it doesn't waste any time. It's quite emotional stuff, and then somebody gets literally sort of eaten and dissolved straight away within a few minutes. So that was quite cool. And then that's for me, like, that kind of set us off on this good sort of roller coaster, but then immediately it slowed down a bit.
It did, and I was watching this with my partner, and I could see he was really drawn in at this point, with what was going on. He was watching it. But I did feel him drifting off in the middle, like, whereas I was still quite enjoying it with the Doctor and Bill getting to know each other, I could see him as a sort of more casual viewer drifting off, whereas he didn't in the pilot. And now, that's why, again, when I watched it a second time, I watched it on my own, because if you're sat with someone and you can see that they're not engaged in the episode as much as you, it does then affect your opinion of the episode. So but yeah, it did slow down a bit after that, didn't it? We got quite a lot of walking around. I mean, thankfully the visuals made up for that, because it was it's filmed in Valencia, wasn't it, in Spain?
Right. Yep.
I don't know the name of the building. Is it a museum or something?
It's the City of Arts and Sciences.
That's it. That's another. By the way, that's another holiday I'll be going on. Let's go to Valencia. What for? Oh, I don't know. Very random. But it made for an absolutely fantastic location, didn't it? It looked visually brilliant, and the way they mixed it with the cornfield. I mean, again, direction by old Lawrence Goff.
Old Goff, yeah.
I thought was excellent.
Amazing.
Actually. I thought visually really well directed. So even though it did slow up a bit, it was still visually amazing to watch. And it kept me entertained. I was just sort of thinking more the casual viewer might have slid off a little bit, I think, in the middle. I felt.
Yeah, perhaps. Yeah. In those sort of quieter moments.
Yeah.
And so the sort of the biggest, the biggest selling point, if you like, that the Beeb went down with this episode was the emoji robots, and the fact that they communicate via emojis. And I think the Doctor mentioned something like, that's just how sort of humans have sort of evolved. I think what they're basically saying is, language and communication has just been boiled down to its most simplest form, which is in this day and age relevant to younger people, I guess. Well, not younger people, but in terms of like social media and Twitter and texting and stuff. Emojis are the thing, aren't they? It's just, I can't see them going away anytime soon. So
no.
So that was the whole thing. So what did you think of that whole concept of the emoji robots and them being, they can only communicate via emoji? I mean, it was kind of cool, I suppose.
I quite liked it, actually, because I remember do you remember when they first banded this idea around and it was getting slayed, when the fans were like, oh, emoji robot, oh, how tacky, and it didn't go down very well when it was first sort of rumoured, but I thought it worked quite well, actually. I just can't make up my mind about the emoji robots, because I quite like them, but I didn't feel any real threat from them, if I'm honest. They never, when they were doing their angry face, I don't know, they weren't very scary, but I still quite like them. I'm not quite sure they did the job they were meant to. But I did think it did work.
Yeah.
I mean, the Doctor's line about, I think Bill says, don't she, why, they can't even run or something. And he's like, well, what does he say? Something about that's when you need to be scared the most, because obviously they don't need to, or something. I thought, well, that's good. That's a cool line, because I was thinking that as well. I was thinking, well, they're not exactly hard to get away from. You could just kick it over.
Yeah.
They just weren't very threatening, I didn't think, but they still kind of worked. They're kind of cute. Wouldn't mind one on my desk.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's from a merchandising point of view. This has got pound signs all over it. This is going to be a real. I can admit there was a robot in a very similar design to this that was been out for years now. It's one of those little robots that you can control with a remote control, and it does like little gestures and can walk and all that stuff. Forgotten the name of it now, but you can see that this is the Beeb will likely go down that road with it. You can see lots of little toys from these and all that stuff. So they're kind of. I think I agree with you, mate. I think they are good, and I do like them, and they were better than what I thought they were going to be. Because like you, when we first got this reveal for Series 10 and we saw these, we thought, oh Christ, what are they doing here? But they are quite cool. But like you, I just wish there was a bit more creepiness to them.
They could have been more creepy.
Yeah, because if you think back to the pilot, you know, when the character Heather was, after she died and she was possessed by something, that some of those scenes were very scary and creepy. So I thought that maybe now that they've kind of set the bar with episode 1 about, you know, how creepy things are going to get or how they could be, I thought, you know, they had a bit more wiggle room with this one to make them a bit scarier and a bit creepier, but they sort of held back a lot and they were just cute. They were just sort of knocking about, not really doing much. And I was looking for a lot more expressions as well because, you know, there's loads of emojis, isn't there? Even like facial expressions. So all we saw was like happy, confused, sad, and then that sort of death face with the little death faces of all the rows of teeth that look like a skeleton. But so I was looking for a bit more in terms of range of emoji, because if that's the only way they can communicate, then they're a little bit limited, really.
I did. I thought that as well. I felt that it was a bit strange that they stuck to those. I mean, there was a good scene where they were all lined up in the window. I think that's about the closest they came to looking pretty scary.
Yeah.
I was like, right, they're all ready to kick off now, but they never did. But I thought that a bit about the emojis as well. And also, I mean, I don't want to pick the story apart too much, but if it doesn't bear too well if you start really looking into it. I mean, the sort of the fact that these robots are built, but they never thought to include the emotion grief, doesn't really stand up to too much analysing, because, you know, they're supposed to be far in the future, and I don't know, you know, it's just a bit, it doesn't quite hold up if you think about it too much. But yeah, I mean, as I said, in terms of a story, it worked. It did its job, but. Yeah, it would have been quite interesting to see a bit more. I liked the little patches that they had, and they sort of the badges that the Doctor and Pearl had on their back showing their emotions. That was a nice idea, and they kind of reminded me a bit of Robots of Death when they first got them. Remember the corpse marker?
Oh
things? Yeah. I mean, I know they weren't meant to be anything like that, but just when they first got them, reminded me of those. But that was quite a nice idea. Like the Doctor saying, "What am I showing on my, what face have I got on my back now?" And because obviously the Doctor always tries to hide his emotion, and with that he can't really do that. So that was quite interesting. But again, they could have played a bit more with it, I thought. I
thought there was quite a classic Who vibe with the story a little bit, because it's kind of a little bit Ark in Spacey.
A little bit,
to begin with, and it's also got, like you say, Robots of Death, where we have the robots sort of turning against people. We've also had, the Beast Below as well. That was a little bit like that as well, with sort of, so that's not classic Who, but it did have a bit of a older Who sort of vibe to the story, because there wasn't heaps of action going on all the time. It was more the Doctor and companion trying to fix like the oncoming threat, if you like. Not that the emote robots were hugely threatening, but there wasn't sort of huge explosions and special effects all over the place. It was more of a sort of quieter paced, more classic Who vibe, I thought.
Yeah, no, I'd agree with that. I think that's why I still quite like it, because even though the slower bits, it did remind me more of an old school Who story. I did think, at the end though, like you were saying about the robots not being much of a threat, but obviously we had the things in the sky. What were they called?
The nanobots.
The nanobots. I did think we had that thing that we've talked about a few times on the podcast, where in one scene they can kill within seconds, and then at the end when the guys are shooting at them with the guns, I mean, there's thousands of the things up there in the sky, and they were taking forever. I mean, they would have all been bones before they'd even but they was, I don't know, I felt that at the end. I was thinking, God, they're taking an awful long time to kill people, whereas at the start they did it in like nanoseconds. It's like so. But that seems to be a common thing in Who, that things only kill you straight away when they need to, and other times they'll give you like half an hour to have a head start run. It's like,
well, yeah, I think that's I think you have to, it's just that age old thing, isn't it, with Who, and we have it all the time in the Seventh Doctor's era, where you've just got to go with it. Sometimes you have to you have to sort of suspend your disbelief and just roll with it and know that that could have happened and likely would have done, but for the sake of the story we'll sort of go with it. But yeah, so I did like that kind of old classic Who type of vibe to it, which I think, like you, really, even though, like I said, it did slow down a couple of times, but I didn't reach for my phone. I was sort of glued to it, and I did really enjoy that, the whole sort of the whole story. I thought it was quite good. And then we had, so like you mentioned earlier, the humans come into it quite late. We did have the two characters at the beginning. We had the lad walking around looking for his mum, and then we had that really old lady sort of lying down with the electronic book, which looked like the sort of history of the human race on Earth, really, and some other bits there. But I didn't understand the need to have those scenes in there. I could be wrong. Tell me if I'm missing something quite big or integral to the story. But I didn't really see the need to have that character laying there because all it served really was for Bill to have a look through the book and her to ask the Doctor. Is.
No, I'm quite glad you said that actually, because I thought I was being a bit. I didn't get that on a first watch, and on the second watch I kind of thought, okay, so it's so that Bill can recognise the grief and the human race. But no, I didn't. It did seem a little out of place. I thought it almost felt like it was just there to sort of fill 5 minutes. I felt, so no, I do agree with you on that one. I didn't quite get it why we needed that, but I think it was just literally there to serve a purpose of Bill working out that it was grief and all that. But I mean, she could have done that anyway. But anyway, I do agree with you about that.
Yeah, because with that, it's kind of explained anyway, because the Doctor goes to blow the whole thing up, but then realises that the ship they're on is actually the ship with all the colonists on, and they're not arriving, at some point in the near future. And then he stops the explosion, and then we have, that's kind of, the story gets explained a little bit anyway by the Doctor through those scenes.
Yeah.
So it was I'm not quite sure what the purpose of that was and why, because we have no idea how long the humans have been there for. So why is she not in a hibernation chamber and just laying there?
Yeah, exactly. And why were those women just walking around at the beginning, and why is that kid just walking around? I don't know. There was more to be explained in the story, wasn't there?
Well, the Doctor called those guys the shepherds. Do you remember?
Okay.
So he said that they were there to sort of oversee. So they got caught up in the initial, you're unhappy, you must die sort of thing. Right. So I think he calls them the shepherds, and they were there sort of woken up before all the other humans to make sure that when they get woken up, everything's as it should be.
Yeah.
But it just, unfortunately, they bit the dust.
They don't make it that far. Yeah.
I mean, in terms of sort of story and stuff, there was a couple of little bits in there that we could pick apart, couldn't we, if we spoke about it in more detail? But you just go with it, I suppose. It's just.
It is one of those stories. I think, if you, it doesn't hold up that well under close examination, but as a story, it works perfectly fine. Yeah.
And okay, let's get into some characters then. So, like we said, a very small cast. Ralph Little. Before we get onto him, let's talk about the two characters at the beginning. So, one of them is very, very frantic. Trying to convince the other one to the other lady to keep a smile on her face, keep smiling, whatever you do, don't frown or make yourself, because that was another part of the story that I thought they could have played up to a bit more, where the little badge that you wear that sort of shoots around and stays on on your back, I'm assuming picks up on your actual emotion, and I think the Doctor does it for a little while as well and tells Bill to do it, is just to smile, just keep smiling and so on. So that sort of made the little badge on your back redundant, I suppose, because I thought that was meant to pick up what you were actually feeling at the time.
Yes, yeah.
But then when you sort of when you just put a smile on your face and had this big fake smile, the little badge on your back also turned to a smile. So it's not really picking up what you're actually feeling. It's just picking up your emotion that you're giving out for people to perceive.
Yeah, I thought that, and that only just about works, doesn't it? But I thought that as well, and I think they tried to get around it, but the Doctor does say something to Bill about, because doesn't she say, well, does that work? And he's like, well, even just smiling, makes your body react or something. Yeah. I think they tried to get around it with a throwaway line. So again, I guess you just have to go with it. But I did think the same. I was like, well, just because they're smiling inside their head, surely the emoji would be scared or terrified, or just because they're actually like. It made for quite a funny scene though, of Capaldi doing his grinning. what a lovely place you have here, and all that. I mean, it's quite a fun scene, but yeah, I did think that as well. I was thinking, again, I'm not sure that 100% works, but
yeah.
What about the upgrade to the ears as well? What was that? Because that was another thing, wasn't it? We had the upgrade to the ears, which I thought was a bit strange.
That's right. Yeah, that was sort of a communication thing, wasn't it? So they could speak to each other. Do you know what, mate? I think that just wasn't needed either.
I didn't get that. Because have they still got it now? Or
I don't know.
Is it just in that place? Or
it was kind of... it was the only time it was ever used, really, wasn't it? It was when Bill was in front of the map of the ship and she was guiding the Doctor to the central sort of core area. And that was only, a couple of minutes, really. So again, it was just in there just to get one person from A to B. It was one of those little plot mechanisms, wasn't it? That wasn't overly...
needed. Yeah. What did you think about the Doctor? He kept trying to leave Pearl behind as well, didn't he? I suppose you could say he was trying to protect her, actually, but at one point he orders her back to the TARDIS, and then she turns up again, and that does lead to a great scene on the staircase, actually, where she's saying about, why do you sound Scottish, and that was a nice...
Oh, that was cool.
It's a lovely, well-written scene, actually. Some nice humour in that. But then there's the other bit where she's reading the map, and he purposely tricks her into staying behind, and then all of a sudden he's like, actually, I need you here. And so she has to go and find it. But I don't know, I felt a bit sorry for Pearl. It was as if he was trying to get rid of her, but I suppose he's just trying to protect her, really.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of that. We see that quite a lot, don't we, with newer companions, if you like, where they're sort of banished to the TARDIS for their own safety, but they never stay there, do they?
No.
But that was a cool scene, actually, because doesn't she say something like, are there Scotlands I
can't remember, but there's some really nice lines that they come out with in that scene. And she's talking about Scotland, and he's like, I'm not Scottish, I just sound angry or something.
That's
and then
right.
And then she says something else. I don't know. There was quite a nice bits of humour in this episode. I remember thinking there was lots of it actually, forgive the pun, making me smile. I was thinking there's some lovely writing going on here.
There was,
I did detect, I'm not sure about you, but I do detect the Moff's sticky fingers in some of this, especially that first scene. It felt very much like a Moffat written scene, but I could be wrong. I mean, he's not co-credited, is he?
No.
But there were a few bits where I thought that sounds like a Moffat line. That sounds like he's just popped in and said, "Oh, Frank, just include this, will you?" You know. So, but they were lovely. The humour in it was lovely.
They were, yeah, and there was also quite political as well. So when Bill says, you know, are there Scotlands in space? The Doctor's like, yeah, there are many Scotlands, all striving for independence.
Oh, that's it, on every planet. Yeah, brilliant.
Yeah. And so that was, that was a little quite relevant to what's happening at the moment, politically, which I thought was quite good. So back to the two characters before. Very, very cool. Like the look of worry and panic was evident, was really good, and confusion. It was all good, but just underused again. I thought that, it was a good setup to the story. Don't get me wrong; it's quite shocking. It was good, but could have been used a little bit more. Those characters, I would say.
Yeah,
they were okay though.
Yeah, they were good. They served the purpose, but yeah.
Let's talk about Ralph Little then, because he was part of a sort of group of other actors playing the humans who. I don't think they had any lines, the other people. I could be wrong, but
I don't think they did. I was thinking the same thing. I think they don't. It's only Ralph Little gets to mouth off for 5 minutes, and that's it, isn't it?
I'm going to be honest with you. I don't think he was good in this at all, really.
No, I didn't. In fact, I've written in my notes, Ralph Little, crap. I thought he was... that's exactly what I've written on the page. I didn't think he was good in it. I thought his acting was rubbish. He seemed just... I don't know, it took me out of the episode a bit because I don't know if I can explain this, but I think you'll know what I mean. You know when you can tell that someone's acting? Does that make sense? He just seemed like he was just as if he'd just been handed the script, read the lines once, put the script down, and then said the lines. It just, I wasn't impressed with him at all. I mean, I know we were saying earlier that he was hardly in it, but having seen the bit he was in, I'm quite glad he wasn't in it anymore because. It wasn't just his acting though, it was the way he was written. He was just written as a really annoying, I'm going to shoot them all. And it's like, oh dear. Yeah, I didn't empathise with his character at all, considering that we're supposed to be caring about the humans at that point, aren't we? They're, they've all come out and, they're about to get killed. So really, you want them to be likable characters. Like, no. But actually, I was thinking, go on. To turn into, I just didn't like him. I was thinking, and he was very mouthy towards the Doctor when the Doctor's trying to stop him, and I didn't sympathise with his character at all.
No, I know what you mean. It's he just wasn't written very well, and the lines that he did have, he as a performance just wasn't really great at all. And maybe that's why he was only in it for a couple of minutes. Maybe they cast him. And he had a great sort of screen test and audition and stuff. And they're like, this guy's going to be great. But then when it came to it, they're like, it's not that great, is he?
I thought he'd be good, though. I mean, he's done a lot of television. I mean, I know he's known for comedy, but he's done a lot of stuff. And I mean, he used to be in The Royal Family, the programme, The Royal Family. And
that's right.
I mean, I'm sure he can act. He just, I don't know. He just didn't do it for me at all in this. So it's like, as soon as he walked off and he's like, doing a fake yawn and hello, what's going on? I just was like, what? Acting's not very good.
Yeah.
So, it didn't do it for me.
And he was very mouthy to the Doctor as well. Quite attitude.
Yeah.
So, I mean, he was, just not one of, but that's just one of the things with Who, isn't it? That we've picked up on so many times is that the support cast, now and then you just get one or two that just don't hit the mark at all.
No, he didn't hit the mark. That's a good way of putting it. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we had the wee lad. I mean, again, the acting's just wasn't. I mean, he was okay when Bill first finds him and he's wandering around and you feel quite sorry for him. But then when he's sort of standing there and he's asking for his mum, it's hard to critique, a child actor and stuff.
Know.
But, it's hard to. But again, just not that convincing for me.
No, it wasn't very convincing. I mean, it is difficult with child actors, isn't it? But it wasn't very convincing. Because we've said this, what we reviewed the story recently, we were saying, weren't we, that at least the child actors were good in it. Was it, The Empty Child? Like all the guys around the dinner table. They're really good, those young guys. And they're probably about the same age as this guy. But yeah, he was a typical, what I'd call typical, not very good child actor. But I'll tell you what I do like, though, is that Bill, once again, saving the day in terms of the scene. Because when he's like scared and he's not very convincingly scared, she was really good, wasn't she? Because she's like, look at your nice new house and all that. And I just thought she was great in that scene. So that kind of brought me back into it, if you know what I mean.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, but it wasn't the best. It's a nice idea having that locket with the hologram in, though. It's a nice little touch.
That was quite cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
So that child is Kaiser Akhtar.
Right.
Apparently been in a couple of things, but he's
really?
Wasn't that convincing for me, really.
No,
it was okay. Yeah.
Were you because that's the only other bit where the emoji robots had the chance to be scary as well, because they sort of, she says, come away from the robots, and they both either side of him grab him, don't they? And again, I was thinking, were they, again, it just didn't, it sort of fizzled out. They weren't scary, but they could have been in that scene,
Yeah,
but
I know what you mean.
Again, it just kind of fizzled off, didn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. One character that was sort of underneath it all that we didn't really see was a guy called Kieran Shah. And let me tell you, he's 60 years old.
Oh.
And he has been in so many films, it's not funny. So one of the emoji robots, Emoji Bot 1, apparently, because they made two of them, was this character called Kieran Shah. And he's a wee chap, and he's basically he's an actor stroke stuntman. And he's been in so many films. It's just, let me try and look up some of the films he's been in. But the thing is, you never see his face.
I've just looked at him on Wiki. So The Dark Crystal, Return of the Jedi, Aliens, Bullseye. I don't know what the TV program. No, it must be a film. Braveheart, Titanic. Yeah, he's got quite an impressive CV. Lord of the Rings,
The Hobbit. Yeah, he's
The Hobbit. He's done quite a lot, hasn't he?
He's been in so many things. He was in Star Wars, The Force Awakens. He's Indiana Jones movies, the early Superman movies. Honestly, he's been in so many films. So it just seems bizarre that such a huge. I mean, he's richer than all of the cast combined. Honestly, this guy has earned, and he's a. It's just I've no idea why he was cast as the emoji bot, covered up the entire time, because it's just literally his body movements that you saw.
Well, I would have never known it was him.
Yeah,
ever.
It's a bizarre bit
casting.
Yeah. So that was kind of weird to have him, such a huge, massive global star. Because if you say his name, everyone's like, "Who's that?" But then as soon as you see a picture of him, I think he was in. I think the film where you see his face the most would be the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe film that came out a few years back. He was like the evil, like the Ice Queen's little minion-y person. But he was also in the remake of Charlie and the Chocolate Factory with Johnny Depp. He played all of the Oompa Loompas in that. So as soon as you show a picture of him, everyone's like, "Oh, that little dude." But yeah, it's just crazy that you never see him. But he's in the emoji bot. So
perhaps he just wanted to be in Doctor Who, because that's the impression I got with Ralph Little, and because the BBC posted a little video, didn't they, saying Ralph Little finally achieves his childhood dream, and I kind of thought, is this a case of another actor that's phoned them off and said, "Oh, I'd really like to be in Doctor. Oh, I've got a part for you. We'll throw you in this episode." I just wonder if that quite genuinely was the case. Ralph said, "Oh, have you got anything that I could do in it?" And the Moff's like, "Well, yeah, you could be." Who did he play? Steadfast, the mouthy, gobby human that the Doctor meets for 5 minutes in episode 2. Oh, perfect. Maybe he just wanted to be in it, and because I can't imagine they were sat there thinking, right, who can we get for this part? Who's going to? So maybe that was it. Yeah,
strange. Yeah, and then so that's like the supporting cast, and then Nardo, like we said, he's in it at the beginning. He's very good. And then we don't see him again. Let's talk about Bill in this one. So Bill, just brilliant, just like the pilot.
Absolutely.
Really, really progressing the character and not slowing down at all. Just really keeping her character alive, if you like. So, sometimes where we've seen, let me think, so with Rose at times, some episodes she's really bubbly and she can be quite annoying with it and quite attitudey and stuff, and then some episodes she's really quiet and we don't she hardly says anything. She's just sort of moody and you don't really see much. I get the feeling that we're not going to have that with Bill. I think Pearl Mackie's just really got a handle already on how she wants that character to be, how she wants to play it, and she just seems to be really consistent already with it.
And she's so likable. I think that's the thing. She, like you said, Rose could be likable, and other times she can be like a real brat, and you were like, oh, Rose. Clara was very, cocky a lot of the time. Bill just strikes me as just being very human, very likable, and like I was saying earlier about that scene. She works really well with the cast, like when she's trying to stop the kid being scared, and she's like, look at this, she just like you said, she's definitely got a handle, I think, on the character she wants to play, and also like when she was thanking the Doctor for bringing her out for, this is such a great day out, thank you for bringing me, and just just these little touches that we've not had in the companion for quite some time, which just make us so likable as a companion. I'm loving Pearl, but please let her continue like this. That's that's the thing with them off. I just keep thinking, don't get to episode 6 and have her rip her face off and she's actually a she's actually a robot or so. Just don't do anything with her. She's perfect the way she is as this sort of sidekick that's just constantly interested in what's going on around her and grateful to be, like when she pulls the Doctor up as well, she's like, why aren't you enjoying this, for goodness sake? It's the sort of thing we would say, isn't it? So finally we've got a companion that we can actually get on board with and relate to. And she said wicked, which reminded me of Ace. I like that. She's like, wicked.
Yeah, that's cool.
A little Ace reference, I thought.
I think for me, my feelings are just exactly the same for Bill that we had from last week, and actually she just brings a lot of realness to that part. A lot of she's really sort of relatable. She's relative to what's happening now, and she's just real. There's no sort of faffing around with her. She just gets on with it, and I like that a lot. She's very much like Ace, I would say.
She's a bit like Ace. She brings a lot of warmth to the show, I think, which has been lacking for quite some time. But she does things and says things that we would do in that situation, which I think helps make she's very relatable. Like if, for example, if I was in that city, first thing she does is take a selfie in front of the building. I'd be doing exactly that. So you know what I mean? She just these little touches that they've got to her character already, just in 2 episodes, and the interaction with Capaldi as well. I think they are working brilliantly together. I just keep thinking the whole time though, but we're only going to get 1 series with these. I'm loving them together.
Yeah.
And I just want to just savor every minute of series 10 if it carries on like this, because I just keep thinking, wow, this is the sort of Doctor companion relationship we've been missing for quite some time, and it's just such a shame we're only going to get 1 series. So I just want to enjoy every minute of it, because I just think they're sparring off each other brilliantly, these two.
Yeah and that brings us on to Capaldi then. So again, like you just said, the relationship between the Doctor and Bill is just so good. It's and did you say this earlier, that Pearl Mackie kind of brings out the best from Capaldi as the Doctor in terms of the companion relationship? I
think
agree.
so. Yeah, I think so, because he's got this sort of mentor thing going on, that he's the lecturer, which she plays up to. She says, "You're the best. That's why I like you. You're the best teacher," or whatever. And he's loving that, and the fact that he's so excited to show Bill his world, like he's so proud of the TARDIS, isn't he? Like when he was trying to be all like down with the kids in the first scene, he's like, I stole it, thinking he's going to be cool, and I just think we're seeing a nice side of Peter Capaldi's Doctor. A very sort of, he just has really settled into the role. I love them together. I mean, watching this again yesterday, I was just thinking, I don't want him to go. I am absolutely loving Peter as the Doctor so far in this series. And he feels like the Doctor as well. He feels alien. He feels a little bit cantankerous at times. Like he does tell her off, doesn't he, at one point? Quite severely, actually. He's like, don't make judgments on people or something. I can't remember. There's a scene at the start where he has a bit of a go. So he does, he does switch to that almost Hartnell-like spikiness at times. And then there's this warmth to him. And I just think he's exactly where I wanted him to be as the Doctor when we were saying how he was so up and down in series 9 in the way he was written and portrayed. And I even don't mind the Peter Cushing waffle, the run. I used to say he sort of did this hunched over, running around like the Peter Cushing Doctor. I quite like that now, just because Pearl's described it as a penguin with his arse on fire. I'm thinking, okay, she's given that bumbling run a name, and now I even like that. So he's really rounded the character of his Doctor, I think, at this point. So, which is good. I even don't mind the hoodie. I never thought I'd say that, but even the hoodie in this doesn't bother me.
No, it looks fine.
It kind of suits him. Yeah. So I'm just loving it.
Yeah. No, I read you, mate. And that's the missus said that as well. She went, "What happened to his nice coat and his shirt and stuff?" I said, "No, he's got a couple of outfits. This is, he's casual today.
Yeah,
smart casual." And she's like, "Oh, that looks quite good, doesn't it?" I said, "It's funny you say that, because not a lot of people liked it from."
I hate the hoodie, but I don't know, something about him walking down the futuristic building just looking a bit cash.
Yeah,
I think
cool.
It kind of worked.
Yeah, and do you know what, mate? It's just a real shame that we've only got one final series with Capaldi playing the Doctor this way, because one thing, just the relationship with Bill is that the way in which Capaldi has been written this series is perfect for me, because even though they really rammed it home in the last couple of series that there was no romantic relationship at all between the Doctor and Clara, they still argued and bickered like an old married couple quite a lot.
Yeah.
Clara was very...
Clara wanted to be the Doctor as well, didn't
pretty
she?
much,
which just become annoying. Yeah, whereas Bill's very much her own character.
Yeah, and the Doctor, sort of played into that a lot with Clara, and they ended up, rowing a lot. But whereas this one, the Doctor, even though, like you said, he's told her off a couple of times, and he's almost got this mellow nature to him where, yes, she's sort of young and feisty and, you know, she doesn't wait in the TARDIS, clearly, like a lot of companions do. But she, I don't know, he just seems to have this very cool mix of, like we've said many times, the first Doctor, Hartnellish about him, but not in a kind of in-your-face, almost nasty way like we've had with Clara and, you know, a couple of other times. So it's just perfect the way he's been written, and he has absolutely settled into this, you know, being the Doctor now. It was a bit rocky in in series 8 and 9, where he was up and down, and he was written a certain way, then he was written a different way, and all that stuff. But it's just a shame that we're only going to get this final series now of him being the Doctor that we wanted him to be, you know, and have that relationship with a companion that we wanted for so long. That it's now only going to be, it's heartbreaking. It really is to only have this now. But there we go. But I think in this particular episode, great, you know, just like the pilot, fabulous performances. The Doctor really, really going for it. The only one thing that I wasn't too keen on was the ending, where, you know, the whole, okay, I'm not going to blow the ship up now, so that's fine. So I thought that was it. I thought, right, he's reversed that. And, you know, we're going to see what happens. But then at the end, where we had the sort of very annoying Steadfast character, you know, Ralph Little saying, let's kill all the robots and stuff like that. And Doctor's like, no, let's not do that. You're just going to have to negotiate with them and I'll help you and blah, blah, blah. And then that was it. And then we were off. I thought, you know, the Doctor had worked really hard throughout the entire episode to A, find out what was going on, and B, to fix everything. And then at the end, he's like, well, there you go. You know, I'm walking
over
away.
To you.
Over to you. So it's not a terrible ending, don't get me wrong. I just thought that, you know, that the amount of work that the Doctor had put in, you know, throughout the episode, there could have been a bit of a nicer payoff for him at the end. But that wasn't really anything to do with his performance. It just felt, you know, I just would have thought that how Capaldi's playing the Doctor would have reacted a bit more at the end there. I thought he would have been a bit stronger with that Ralph Little character and put him in his place a little bit more, and, you know, put his foot down a little bit more, basically, at the end.
Yeah.
Where he was just basically, well, let's just go. You know, we've got him this far. I'm not even going to, you know, give him much of a telling off. Let's just go. So that was my only one thing, really. But apart from that, I thought he just played the Doctor just so good, just like in the pilot, really, just amazing.
Yeah, I'm just loving him as the Doctor. Absolutely loving him. I feel, just like you said, feel like we've got the Doctor we wanted from him, which we've seen lots of glimmers of it over certain episodes, but he's really settled into it now. Yeah, and they've got the right now. And just one last thing about this episode is that we're finally back to a series where you can just sit and enjoy an episode. There's no, you know, I'm thinking if you think back to series 6 and Matt Smith with the astronaut on the beach, and then the following week you've got, you know, it's just so all over the place. Whereas this series so far, episode 1, anybody could just sit and watch it. Episode 2, anybody could just sit and watch it and enjoy it. And it's like, and also I like the fact that we're picking up sort of straight where we left off from each episode. So this episode picks up very nicely from the pilot. There's no sort of jarring art getting in the way. Then this leads straight into Thin Ice, which we're going to pick up from next week. So it feels like a nice continuation, but you could jump in anywhere as well. And I'm just loving that because we haven't had that for quite some time, have we, really?
No, it's good.
You know, so it's good times. And the other thing I've got to mention is Murray's music again, mate. I thought was really lovely in this episode.
Yeah.
There's
really nice.
There's a track playing where Bill's is it in the field or in the I don't know. There's some lovely music going on in this again. I keep thinking, really hope we get a Series 9/10 soundtrack soon because I'm loving the music in this.
Yeah, no, I was going to mention the music. It had a really nice sort of laid back feel, this one. It didn't. Yeah. So in the pilot, it had more of a theme. You know, there was quite a lot of themes going on. It felt like, you know, one after the other, there was these really cool themes for each moment. Whereas this one, it just sort of played out more as a sort of underlying soundtrack to the story. But it was really nice and laid back, and
it suited it brilliantly. And I thought I'd got a bit sick of Murray. I think I said before, you know, maybe it's time for a new composer, but he is mixing things up. He's definitely, I know we still get the 12th Doctor theme still kicks in every time they run down a corridor, but that aside, he's definitely mixing up the music a bit and trying new things and new sounds. And it's I thought it just suited the episode perfectly. Yeah, I loved it. Yeah.
Talking of music, this will segue us nicely into our reviews. I think it's me to go first.
I think it is.
Yeah, I'm going in with a 7, mate.
Going with a 7.
Yeah. I don't think it was as good as the pilot, but I think it was a very good story. Good episode still.
Yes, I'm agreeing with you. I was somewhere between a 6.5 and a 7. 6.5 just seems a bit low because I think it's better than that.
Yeah.
It's definitely not as good as the pilot. But I'm going to go with 7. I think it's a good episode. Yeah.
Yes, you and I agree again.
Twice, yeah. Yes. I was stuck between the two, but I just think 6.5 is a bit low. I think it is better than that. So, 7 from me. Even though I've just realised there was one other thing I didn't say, the magic haddock thing.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, didn't quite get that.
A bit quirky, wasn't it? Yeah.
Bit quirky.
Yeah. In terms of scores, we're very consistent so far in Series 10. The last Capaldi story, so the return of Dr. Mysterio, we were very different on that. So,
were we?
Yeah, so you gave it a 7.5 and I gave it a 3.
A 3?
Yeah, so we were very different on that. But yeah, but so far, Series 10 is proving very consistent.
Yes, I think I might have scored that too high and you might have scored it too low. I think we should have gone in the middle with that one. But anyway.
Anyways, what did our lovely listeners think? Let's kick off with an audio review first. This is Joe Sweeney.
Hello, Gary and Adam. Hope you guys are well. Smile is in some ways it's quite an enjoyable episode, but did had some flaws. But I'll start by saying some positives. The Doctor and Bill's relationship, I liked how that progressed even a lot more since the last episode. And I loved the banter between them. And also I loved the dialogues and the interaction. I thought it was perfect. And Bill was excellent. And I really enjoyed Peter Capaldi's Doctor. And I think he's starting to be his own Doctor again in the series. So I hope that keeps up within the series. Negatives, the Vardis, they didn't really do a lot, and at the same time I found them less threatening. But I think it was a clever idea that they speak emojis. The guest stars were forgettable, and I didn't really care much about them. And also that the ending and the resolution was rushed, and it ended just so quickly. But I must hand it to Frank Contell Boyce of writing this episode. I thought his writing was a bit clever since after his Forest of the Night episode, which was very dull. So overall, quite a good story. So I'll give a score of them a 7 out of 10.
Thank you very much, Joe.
Joe on a 7 as well.
A 7 as well, yeah. Over on Twitter, Daniel Fox. It says, less silly than I imagined. The smiling concept was good and the plot was better than the pilot. Great first adventure for Bill, 7.5. George Garrity did reply with emojis. He put a slice of pizza, a poo face, and 2 exclamation marks. Ollie Tanner, I must thank Ollie as well for giving us a very nice review on iTunes. Thank you very much. He says, really enjoyable. Awesome chemistry between the Doc and Bill. The story was pretty good, but the ending was a bit rushed. But 8 out of 10. And his emoji score is a smiley face.
Ah, good.
Let's have a look. Nothing else on Twitter. Before we jump to Facebook, let's do another audio review. This is first time sender in of audio clippage. This is Paul Skevington.
So this is my first audio clip for you guys, and it seems strange that I should pick a Frank Cottrell Boyce episode, considering I wasn't exactly a fan of his original outing in The Forest of the Night, which just made me want to claw my own eyes out even after a second watching. But, however, I've been pleasantly surprised by Smile, his second outing in the Doctor Who universe. We had some great characterisation, we had some brilliant interaction between Bill and the Doctor. Pearl is just providing the most fantastic performance continuously. Hopefully she can keep that up for the whole season. And Capaldi is absolutely on form. We should had some lovely things in the episode, like references to the previous arcs that have been sent out into space, and so some fantastic moments, particularly grim stuff like the bones, even though falling out of the grinder, even though we had seen that in the trailer. But also there were some things I was not so keen on. The conclusion to the whole episode doesn't make much sense when we're supposed to believe these robots have killed everyone because of some kind of logical inconsistency where they just can't compute what grief is, and yet somehow they're coming alive. So these two science fiction tropes don't really marry together, and that didn't leave me smiling. But overall, I was very happy with the results that he came up with, considering my expectations were super low. But I love the trailer for next week's episode, and I'm absolutely looking forward to Sarah's production next week. Okay, well, I'll talk to you guys later. Bye.
Cheers, Paul.
Thank you very much, Paul. Always lovely to hear our listeners' voices on an audio clip.
Indeedy. Right, over on Facebook, we're going to, because we get so many comments and stuff through on Facebook now, it's going to drain a load of time. So we're just going to skim through your thoughts and feelings and give us and tell our listeners what your scores are. So let's start with Adam Pink. He says Smile was a decent episode. Plot wasn't the main focus. It was just building up the Bill and Doctor's friendship. He felt that the climax was a little rushed and the guest cast were a little underused. 6 out of 10.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you, Adam.
Rob Kernock says, despite some of the reviews of the episode, I really enjoyed it. Peter and Pearl really played into the gimmick extremely well. Also like the twist at the end, the colony living within the base itself. Some of the camera cuts were a little dodgy as a side note, but overall 8.5.
High, yep.
Sammy Satine says, congratulations to Frank Cottrell Boyce for writing a decent episode. We can forget all about Forrest. I think we can forget about that one now, can't we?
Yes.
She says the lady who played also the lady who played Geeta Chandra in the Sarah Jane Adventures is in the episode. Yes, she is.
Yes,
and she should have been used a bit more. Basically, the emoji bots are some sort of Vashta Narada meets emojis. But more important than that, why does the Doctor not want anyone looking at his browser history?
Yeah.
Yes. Sammy gives it a 7 out of 10. Danny Brown says, pretty good establishing episode for Bill and the Doctor. The emoji bots weren't bad, though the conclusion was a little rushed, didn't take away from the excellent build-up and the fantastic location work. 7 out of 10. Simon Ascuri says, episode was great. Felt, for me, fresh and original and absolutely loving the series so far. It felt like it's being show-ran by RTD again.
It does feel good.
Yeah, tone-wise, he says it feels like Series 4.
Yes.
He thinks both Capaldi and Moffat will leave on a very successful high. 8 out of 10. Let's do another audio clip. This is Owen Daly.
Hello again, Adam. Hope you're both well and enjoying the show this week. So Smile. I really, really enjoyed this episode, and it's quite similar to how I felt with the Sunmakers, actually. It was not an entirely great plot, wasn't great writing, but it was just so entertaining and fun that the 50 minutes just flew by. The emoji bots, they were silly, okay, I'll give you that. They look pathetic, but I want one of them. I want a Funko Pop, I want a Titan Vinyl, I want anything, because they were so cute and silly, and anytime they came on screen, I just laughed to myself, because last week's monster, like, she was scary, but these guys just were not scary whatsoever, but I think it worked in context of this episode. A highlight for me was definitely when the Doctor is rigging the city to explode and then the emoji bot comes behind him and he just smacks him over the head with a wrench. It was just funny. It was a fun episode, and that's why I really liked it. I found Bill a lot more fresh in this episode and wasn't as annoying. I really liked her in this one, and I'm looking forward to seeing more of her. The colonists, I thought, I don't think the colonists were fully expanded in this one. And I think that's the one thing that let them down, the ending. They put too much time into intrigue and build up, and then there was not a good enough payoff at the end, and it was a bit of a quick ending. But I did like how it leads straight into thin ice, and I did enjoy this episode, so I'm going to give it a 7 out of 10, and Series 10 shaping out to be great. Thanks for listening, and enjoy the rest of the show.
Nice one, Owen.
Thank you, Owen.
Another 7.
Yes.
Yes. Back on Facebook, Lewis Palmer says, I don't know whether I like it or not. Visually, it's fantastic. Location works great. The openness of it felt huge. The Doctor and Bill are excellent together. The pacing was completely off, though. It took its time, but at the end decided to get the resolution out of the way with a Sonic Ex Machina. Also not sure how I'm supposed to care about the humans when they have got little development. Very true. Maybe I need to give it a rewatch. But for me, it was a meh episode, despite being a treat for the eyes. 5 out of 10.
Oh, okay.
Miles McKenzie. When I first heard of this, I wasn't very sure of the emoji bots, but I'm glad to say I really enjoyed it. Pel Mackie is such a great companion and very new and refreshing. Peter's acting was amazing as always. He gives it an 8.5 out of 10. Martin Arnold didn't really work. The premise was spoiled in the trailers and the episode was front-loaded so that there was very little to back it up. The colonists were stupid and unsympathetic. The robots not really threatening. Interesting idea. Like the buildings, it was pretty empty. Bit of a weak start. I'm not convinced that Bill's written very well. She's too quippy, and we've seen this act before with Rose, Amy, Donna, and even Martha. And he gives it a 6 out of 10.
Oh, okay.
Oh dear, Charlie Turner. In the words of the 10th Doctor, I'm sorry, I'm so sorry. I find this one to be rather lame. However, it's better than Forest of the Night. 4 out of 10.
Fair enough.
Gavrick Sawyer. I thought this story was surprisingly good, although the pacing is kind of meh. My other complaint would be weird, out of place, little boy. He only seemed to be in there for the sake of the plot, which is rather odd. 7 out of 10.
Also, they took a long time to notice he'd gone. Me and my partner both laughed when they said, oh, where's that little boy gone? We're like, oh, we said that 10 minutes ago. You've only just noticed.
Yeah.
He just wandered off.
Yeah. George Coppen, to be fair, this episode didn't have much to live up to. One thing I learned is that Frank Cottrell Boyce can't write side characters very well. The emoji bots are okay. Overall, 5 out of 10.
Yeah, good point.
Blazing Callum says, I think that Frank Cottrell Boyce has created one of the best Doctor Who episodes of the Moffat era. It was fantastic to go back to the Doctor and a companion on an adventure. The effects were great too. 9 out of 10.
Wow.
Cool. Callum MacArthur, this is one of the best. This one is one of the better episode 2 we've had in a while. The emoji bots were cool, but didn't like the ending. 6.5.
Yeah.
Jake Birtwistle. When I first heard the words emoji bots, smile, and Frank Cottrell Boyce in the same sentence, I nearly fell off my seat with laughter. I mean, they have chosen any writer for Series 10. There are plenty of writers that deserve a decent write again for the Doctor. But I was actually quite surprised watching this episode. It did drag out near the end, but besides, it was a great episode. He gives it a 7 out of 10.
Okay.
Joseph Howarth. When I first heard the concept of a planet being inhabited by emoji bots, it seemed to be stupid. But I was ready to hate when the synopsis was revealed for the episode. But it proved me wrong because I honestly did enjoy it. 8 out of 10. Jason Thayer. That was better than expected. My only gripes was that Nada was practically nothing to do, and the pacing was a bit slow. 7 out of 10. Peter Adamson very simply says much better than expected, 7.5. And lastly, Theta Sigma's podcast has given us a huge review. I'm not going to read the whole thing, but he basically says, let me just make sure I'm getting this right because he has written quite a lot. The pre-credit sequence for Smile, for the most part, was great. Loving Bill's questions about the TARDIS. She's not afraid to ask questions. He's also loving that canon is restored with the Doctor's admission that he stole the TARDIS and not the other way round, as was previously blasphemed.
Yeah.
Goes on to say, interesting on second viewing, Nardole in the pre-credit sequence made me realise that he doesn't appear in the rest of the story. Then we have the other plot hole of the size of the planet. The Doctor goes to blow up the spaceship at the heart of the city, but then later resolve the situation by means of a simple reboot. Why not simply reboot in the first place?
Well, yeah, good point.
Goes on to say there is one positive to come out of the episode other than the aforementioned Pearl Mackie performance, and that is the stunning location. which is great. He doesn't actually give it a score, but he does finish to say, overall, sadly, Smile lacks substance and performance, with the exception of Bill, and only leads me to hope that Chris Chibnall won't be inviting Cottrell Boyce to write for whoever again. So I think that's fair to say it is a bad review from Theta Sigma. Last audio clip, this is Jay Kent.
Hey Gary and Adam, hope everything's swell. Now, considering Smile was written by the same guy that wrote the episode that shall not be named, it was pretty alright. My opinions on it don't really go further than that. It was definitely better than expected. The emojis worked in context and it was a really inventive idea. I think what really let it down for me was the ending, which seemed to follow Frank's rule of, and then everyone forgot about it. But the one thing that it was, and the one thing I wanted out of it, it was enjoyable. I liked how new elements kept getting added to keep it from going stale, and I like how the Doctor was wrong at one point but worked out a new solution, no matter how basic that new solution was. And I especially liked the whole sequence where Ben Kenobi shut down the Death Star tractor beam, or at least the scene that was very eerily similar to it. But overall, an alright episode that I'd give a 7 out of 10. Hope you're both good, and I'll see you next week.
Nice one, Jay. I love his reviews.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Cheers, Jay.
Right, that was it for audio stuff and the official page. Did you have anything on the Geeks Handbag page?
Yes. Once again, overwhelmed by the amount of comments we got. And thank you very much. I really enjoy reading all your stuff. So please continue to comment. But obviously, for time reasons, I don't have time to read them all out. But I'm just going to give you a gist of what people said. So Kevin Mullen says he's seriously loving the series and he gives Smile a 10 out of 10.
Cool.
Paul Valentino also enjoying the series and compares it to a little bit like The Beast from Below, which I think you mentioned earlier. Helen Jones wasn't quite sure on the first watch, but she gave it another go and she enjoyed it a lot more, and she gives it a 7 out of 10. And she also compares it to The Ark in Space, which I think you did.
Yes.
And Stephen Hardy says he thought it was a powerful start. It wasn't bad. I think he just found it a bit in the middle, really, and he doesn't give it a score. Justin Croft loved it. He gives it 8 out of 10. Ben Taberner, I think I'm saying that right, didn't enjoy last week's that much, but thinks this one was better, and he gives it an 8 out of 10. Jace Howells thinks it was brilliant, and just says it was creepy. The robots were creepy. John Gernhill said it had a bit of Tom Baker moment about it. Again, I think comparing it to The Ark in Space. And we've got a couple of quick comments here. Matt Vernon says he really liked it. Kat Wheeler says bloody brilliant. And Thomas Kenyon just simply says, I liked it. So yeah, there was lots more comments. If you want to read them all in full, then just head over to both our Facebook pages, because I think Gary will agree with me. We do love reading through all your stuff when they come in. Just time-wise, we just don't have time to read them all out on the show now. But thank you for commenting, and do continue to do so, because we love it.
Indeedy. And I think we're going to do there for 139.
Yeah.
Thank you for sticking with us for 139. Hopefully it's been a bit shorter this week.
Yeah.
You know, to sit through so much waffle and faff. Thank you so much for sending in your thoughts and audio clips and all that jazz. For Smile, I think overall received very well. I think the average score is probably around a 7, 8 out of 10-ish.
Yeah.
And our thoughts are not quite as good as the pilot, but still a good episode.
Yeah.
Next week, dude, episode 3 will be Thin Ice. Elephants on the Thames.
Yeah.
Which is an interesting concept. So Thin Ice next week.
Looking forward to that.
Indeedy. My co-host has got his priorities all wrong and won't be watching it.
No, I know.
On the Saturday, but
I'll be sat there fuming in a hotel room somewhere.
Unless you can sort of take a laptop with you and VPN into the UK somehow and get iPlayer, and you'll be fine.
Oh, believe me, I'll be trying.
Rightio. So look out for the Facebook post and the Twitter stuff for Thin Ice next week. In the meantime, head over to the website www.bigblueboxpodcast.co.uk. On there, you can listen to all the previous episodes, plus you can link off to all the social stuff to give us a like and a follow and all that jazz. And there's a big button as well to head over to iTunes if you want to give us a sub on there. And a review and a rating if you are an iTunes listener. That would be amazing because it really does help us. If you listen on any other platform, if you've got an Android phone or any other podcast app or Stitcher, whatever it might be, just do a search for us. We'll be on there. But thank you very much for your support. It's great. Head over to Adam's channel on YouTube and Facebook, The Geek's Handbag.
Yes.
Just do a search on there and you'll be able to see him and all of his great videos.
New vid out of those sonic torches. Go and have a look at that.
Yeah.
Yes.
So loads of convention roundups, unboxings, reviews, the whole shebang awaits. So I think we're going to do there for this week. I hope you guys enjoy Thin Ice. We'll look forward to your reviews on that next week. Until then, my name's Gary.
My name's Adam.
And remember,